Good evening. I'm going to call the September 13th, 2022 agenda meeting to order. Councilmember Jessica Brennan, Councilmember John De La Rada, Councilmember Bill McPartland, Councilmember Jason Moskowitz, Town Attorney Elena Finnan, with Eric Amberger, Elizabeth Greenwood, Chief Koshin, Michelle Martinelli, Lori Peretti, Laura Robertson, Ray Smith, Matt Yetto, and Seth Goldstein. Janet Wynn. All right, before moving on, we wish to respectfully acknowledge that Niskayuna is on the traditional lands of the Kanekihaka and the Mohakota peoples, past and present, and we honor with gratitude the land itself and the peoples who have stewarded this land throughout generations. Okay, moving on, we'll start with Public Works.
Good evening. Number one is a tentative resolution authorizing the hiring of 2 grounds workers. This was brought up in our agenda meeting. We had Seth put a notice on our website to attract people. We did get a few applications. We haven't had time to interview yet. We hope to. If we can't find candidates or these don't work out, we'll probably push this to next month. I think it'll be a bit of a rush to get it for this month. So, but we will continue to do that and advertise. Number 2, tentative resolution to appoint equipment operator. I'm pretty sure we'll have a name for you for the town board. I will get that to you, Elena. I had mentioned to Elena that we had overwhelming response when we posted this at the highway. We had 9 people within our department, looked better themselves for this upgrade. So we took the time, we interviewed everybody, not only for now, but the future of who's interested in being that person. So very good response from that posting. Number 3, resolution awarding a fencing contract for the improvements at Niskayuna Dog Park. We were able to get a second quote. Elena has both quotes, and I think we can award this contract to the appropriate bidder. I think the rest are Matt. Oh, yeah. You want me to just read that off the agenda? Okay. So also the approval to purchase a highway trailer. This will be an enclosed trailer. I had talked about it at our Public Works meeting. We're looking to set up for crosswalk paint sprayer, have a portable tank in there. Currently, we load it up in the back of a big van, pick it up. We want to get something set up with traffic cones, safety, let a smaller rig on the side of the road, and it'll be used for that during the summer. And once we take this stuff out for the winter months, we'll be able to use it for other things as well as needed. So I think it'll help streamline what we're doing with crosswalks and just public safety in general. So I think it'll work, and that money is in my budget. So just coming out of one of my lines. Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 4 is a resolution regarding a fence easement agreement for 5 Bergen Place. There's an existing drainage easement in the backyard. The owner wants to install a fence, so it's just our standard easement agreement that allows him to do so, acknowledging that we have an easement there, and if we have to access it, it's our right to do what we need to do. 5 is a resolution to purchase up to 3 trucks, pickup trucks with a surface body on them off of a mini bid. We bonded last year and the year before for a total of 3. So that's what I'm hoping to do. I have a good chance to have 3 possibly as early as December. 6 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of pumps for the Buckingham Drive Pump Station. Buckingham Drive is a station which is receiving a large quantity of flushable wipes, and it's a national issue. People flush things that they read on the label that says it's flushable. This station is a smaller station, so it can't handle it as well as some of the other stations that we have. And the pumps are clogging. We have emergency calls to the station multiple times a week. Most weekends we get a call. That's have to pull the pumps out, tear out all the flushable wipes that are in there, and we really need to upgrade the pumps to something with a cutting type of style to avoid this in the future and save on overtime and just the wear and tear on the equipment and the staff. So the cost of that would be not to exceed $12,000 for 2 pumps for that station. I do have money budgeted for pump station maintenance and repair. I'm going to use that money. 7 is a resolution to order contract for sewer lining in different locations within Sewer District 1, primarily Union Street area, possibly Oregon. It's the same company that we used last year to do lining in the Country Club area. We're piggybacking on an Onondaga County bid, so we take advantage of a large quantity, drives the price down. We can work with this company, and we've had great success in the past. I also have money set aside for that, bonded money for not to exceed $41,000. 8 is a resolution authorizing the 2022 fall residential commercial utility billing warrant. This is our big one. It has all the residential commercial properties. Kathy in my office and Chris Lachinsky, the water billing clerk, have the numbers worked out. We're doing our final checks, and we'll have everything ready prior to the board meeting. 9 is a resolution authorizing maintenance on our auger grinder at the wastewater treatment plant. It's just a large grinding machine that takes anything that comes in at the head of the plant. Work on that is expected not to exceed $19,500, and there is money in a line set aside for wastewater treatment plant upgrades and maintenance. 10 is a resolution authorizing the replacement of gas piping at the wastewater treatment plant. We've been looking at getting quotes for this, and this particular quote is less than half of what the next highest quote is. So I'd like to jump on the opportunity to hire a company to come in and do this work. Cost is expected or is estimated with a not to exceed $16,000, and there is money budgeted for that as well. 11 is a resolution to authorize repairs on our sludge dryer. We're working with a company to do repairs on the control system for the dryer. I still don't have an exact price on what it's going to cost. As soon as I have that, I'll provide that to the board. I expect to have that prior to the board meeting. 12 is a resolution for approving the organic waste program contract. That's on for tonight's meeting. So would you like me to speak on this now or at the or later? Okay. So this is just a contract with Wind River Environmental to allow them to bring us organic waste that we will use as part of our organic waste program, the one that we've been talking about for quite some time. We're excited to get this going. So they organize and set up the haulers that will bring the material to us. 13, resolution approving actuator replacement at the wastewater treatment plant. I'm going to pull that one. That's the one I mentioned at finance. It came in much cheaper than I expected. So we do not need a resolution for this. 14 is a resolution to approve an extension to our contract with Sterling Environmental. They do our annual post-closure monitoring at our landfill. We had a contract with them for 3 years. They will extend their price for 2 more years. So I have an updated contract from them. We just need the board action to go ahead and award it. So that's an annual cost of $4,500, which is a great price. We were paying $1,000 more 4 years ago, so I'm happy.
And it's great they're going to extend for 2 years.
Yes, they're a local company as well. I think they're based in Niskayuna. 15, resolution to purchase, it says 2, but it's really 3 automatic flushing hydrants. We've already purchased 1, and we were so happy with the equipment. We want to buy 2 more. So that would set me over the purchasing threshold for myself. That was what would require the resolution. So I'm just going to say 3. And then so the total cost for the purchase of 3 would be $17,000. And there's money set aside for water main improvement that we'll use for that. 16 is a resolution to repair pumps at the Hexham West pump station. We initially thought we were going to have to replace pumps. However, I did get an updated price just to do a repair on that. And so I do not need a resolution any longer for this. I can drop that one too. 17 is a resolution regarding reconciling an overpayment due to a clerical error. We have a $623.53 charge that came on a utility bill, which was incorrect. We need to refund that to the owner of the property. And that requires a resolution to do so. One resolution that I mentioned at Finance Committee didn't make it to Public Works, so we put it through Finance. It's for the installation of a drainage system on Holly Hill Drive. Contractor provided quotes, and I'm waiting on a second quote from another contractor, but I don't expect it to be more than $34,985 for the project, and I do have money available for that. Any questions? Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to community programs.
I was going to take those
Oh.
two. So this month we have 2 resolutions coming out of community programs, both of which I'm working on. One is a tentative resolution regarding a license agreement with Niskayuna Soccer Club. Their license agreement expired at the end of June, so they have indicated a desire to use our fields this fall. So we're working out a tentative license agreement with them to get them through the rest of this year before our standard license agreement goes into effect for next year. And annually, we do the Mohakota Marathon Runners Club license agreement. They've been holding their marathon here goes through here and Colony and other neighboring jurisdictions. It's the same as last year. It's scheduled to be October 9th of this year. So that is actually on for the special meeting this evening for you all to vote on. Any questions?
Thank you. Economic Development, Historic Preservation, Environmental Conservation Committee.
Number 20 is a resolution accepting a $5,000 NYSERDA grant. We weren't exactly sure what we were going to use it for last month, but we've got LED lights that should work perfectly for that. So that'll be a resolution to do $5,000 to purchase the LED lights, and that's because we got enough people from Niskayuna to sign up for community solar through our Niskayuna Sun program. Number 21 is a resolution appointing members to the Historic Preservation Committee. I think we did an email blast maybe like a week ago, and so hopefully we'll get some more applicants and be able to get a full committee and appoint them at this next meeting. And then number 22 is a resolution awarding contracts regarding the Critical Pedestrian Connections Grant. So we have contracts out currently that contractors can look at and bid on. And we tried to bid them all together for some cost savings so that we don't have to mobilize to 4 different sites. It's going to be a hodgepodge of what we can afford. So when those come in, the supervisor and I can sit down and see what what comes within budget, but it's theoretically the crossing at St. Joseph, the sidewalk on Knott Street, the crossing at Upper Union, and potentially a not beautiful but functional sidewalk on Plum Street. So that's what we're trying for. I'm not sure that we'll get all of them, but we'll see. That's going to come in next Friday.
Thank you. Police and Public Safety.
Good evening, everyone. Number 23 is a resolution regarding an MOA with the Skanky County Sheriff's Department regarding a part-time assignment of an officer to the Street Crimes Task Force. Some of the town board members will recall back in 2018 when this was initially proposed to the various agencies, law enforcement agencies throughout the county. That was the inception of the Skanky County Street Crimes Task Force. At that time, the town did not decide to opt into it, and there were a number of reasons at the time why they did not, to include the fact that it was a full-time position for the appointment for 1 year. This MOA is different. I spoke extensively with Inspector Pete Forth, the Chief Deputy John Lubert, former Chief of Niskuna, regarding these things. They were willing to make an accommodation for us, potentially if we did decide to go this route, to do it part-time. And what it would encompass essentially is a commitment of a minimum of 4 days a month for that assigned member, up to 6 days. And they would reimburse that salary and overtime to the town of Niskuna, not to exceed $30,000. The anticipation behind this position is a number of things. And speaking with Inspector Forth regarding this, I guess I didn't even understand the full capacity of what they do with that task force. And I'm just going to mention a couple of things so you have an idea. Obviously, they deal with warrants. We know with legislative changes, bail reform, things of that, warrants have increased. It's something that is a consistent thing in our detective division that we're trying to address, as far as from a manpower and a resource-driven aspect, how we deal with an influx of warrants due to the fact that people don't tend to show up for court anymore because there really isn't as many provisions in place under bail reform to kind of get them to show up for court. ERPO, the extreme risk protection orders, I've mentioned them in the public safety meetings extensively. This was also a legislative change. We are now required by law to file for these extreme risk protection orders when we have community members or people that we encounter who meet essentially mental health provision of the 941, and we have to take them to LS crisis and or other stipulations whereby we believe they're a danger to themselves or others in the community. And that has been very intensive, resource driven as well. Been working with Town Attorney Finnan on this. We have, I can break down the number of staffing hours we've already utilized in this short amount of time. I believe we applied for 7 so far in a short 2 months. And that encompasses multiple meetings, going in front of the Supreme Court Justice, having court hearings regarding these things. Again, these would be things that the Street Crimes Task Force could assist to, but particularly also serving, if they are assigned, serving these search orders by the judge. We just don't have the staffing. We've already had to call the Street Crimes Task Force to be a force multiplier for us in these instances when they are approved and we do have to conduct a search of a residence potentially for firearms. Investigations, obviously, this is something that they specifically deal with, the task force, regarding whether it's targeted crime prevention on the street level or apprehension, things like car larcenies. We've talked extensively. I know Council Member Del Rada and I were talking about Hexham Gardens area and St. David's Lane area. You know, we had contacted the Street Crimes Task Force to, again, be a force multiplier overnight to increase our staffing levels to have unmarked units out there, and they assisted with those things. And then lastly, just another example and something I really had no idea that they did, but Inspector Forth mentioned the fact that when we go out and do targeted patrols, they have gone to other jurisdictions to be spotters in unmarked cars and assist with those things. Now, they're not going to go out and write tickets in the town of Niskuna, but they're going to assist us with those things, whether we do checkpoints. Like I said, they could be spotters for us when we have grant assigned details out for the different traffic components and engagement that we do throughout the town. Again, just to touch on it and reiterate, 4 to 6 days per month, it would be reimbursed up to $30,000. We would not go over that. The anticipation initially of this position would be somebody from the detective division, so it would not affect our operations or shift shortages in any way. Essentially, this person, according to Inspector Forth and what I asked him, would be bringing Town of Niskuna work to the County Street Crimes Task Force to do there in conjunction with them. Now, is this person also going to do work potentially in the city of Skanky or the town of Rotterdam or the town of Glenville? Absolutely. But what I stressed to Inspector Forth was I need to demonstrate that they're doing Town of Niskuna work. And he said, absolutely, the more work, the better. And we would have them focus on things that they brought with them to this, the days they were assigned. Some other additional considerations, things that they do. They have some of the best instructors for defensive tactics. They have seasoned veterans that are retired from Skanky Police Department. Some of the, again, most experienced and technically experienced defensive tactics instructors and active shooter instructors are actually assigned to this task force. And by partnering with them, it's going to only further develop those relationships to utilize those instructors to hopefully not tax our agency to have to provide those instructors with staffing issues, scheduling, and concerns of that nature. It's just going to build that relationship better for us to be able to use those things. So it is my belief that our department should move forward with this agreement, and I would respectfully ask that the town board support this assignment. I don't know if anybody has any questions specifically to it, and I'm sure some people do.
I don't understand how it seems like a lot of work for $30,000. So this person is probably full-time with the county, but we're getting him part-time?
It's the other way around. So one of our detectives, 1 day a week, would go down and be assigned to their task force at their office 1 day a week and work in conjunction with a pre-existing task force. Their task force has approximately, it floats between 12 and 15 members. And those members come from, there's 4 or 5 from the city of Skanky. There's 1 or 2 from Rotterdam. Skanky County Sheriff's has, I think, 2 or 3 Inspector Force stated. So we would be contributing to that pool of resources. We would then use that pool, again, as a force multiplier for everything that I spoke about.
And how long would we be committed to this?
It's a 1-year agreement, I believe the MOA stated, but I was kind of unclear about that because they were sort of still talking with Town Attorney Finnan to iron out those details.
And do you have some thoughts on how you will collect data on what our officer from Niskuna will be doing? You mentioned they'd be bringing issues that are pertinent to our town. How do you intend, or how would you want that individual to document that?
So obviously we have a report writing system. So anything specific to what they would work on that was specific to the town of Niskuna, there would be the required reporting requirements. But I spoke specifically about warrants with Inspector Forth and talking about, can we have a number that we're at least attempting to effectuate? And then whether or not we actually get them served, we can demonstrate that we actually worked on those warrants. And he said, absolutely.
So Chief, I am familiar with this, and I know when we looked at it in 2018, 2019, this part-time option wasn't available to us. It was a full-time officer leaving the town of Niskuna and going to the street crimes division, and that was one of the reasons that we decided that it just wasn't going to work for us because of staffing problems. And I guess you sort of answered that question in that you're going to be using somebody from the detective division, yes. So it'll put a little bit more load on some of the other people in that division, but you're confident they'll be able to handle that, yes?
I am, because this individual is going to be carrying their own caseload and then, again, utilizing the task force as a resource to help hopefully take some of that load off in some ways with bigger investigations, with the warrants. The ERPO process right now, I wish I could take each one of you and spend a day and walk you through it. It can be very time consuming and resource driven from a personnel standpoint. And I'm hoping that this alleviates some of those things.
Definitely. One of the other concerns that we had at that time was liability and or injury to that officer while they're working, on the street crimes task force. Maybe they're involved in something in Rotterdam or the city of Schenectady or something. And that was, again, I think one of our struggles with joining the program was that aspect of it if something should happen to that officer during their duty and they weren't technically working within the town of Niskayunas.
So I asked that question specifically because I knew you were going to ask about that. I'm a person that always goes based on historical data. In 3 years, they have had 0 injuries, and they had 1 207C case with no lost time. So am I saying there's not a potential that someone could be injured? I'm not saying that, because as police officers, we do a very dangerous job, and there's absolutely potential. Have they had injuries so far in the 3 years? They have not, which is excellent news for them because it means that they're doing things correctly. What I can tell you is that the group of officers that are there, I'm very familiar with, and Inspector Forth, I'm very familiar with, and I am confident that they are doing things that would not jeopardize unintentionally the safety of our police officer while they were there. And I think that from a liability perspective, and if I were to do a cost analysis, we're talking extensively in meetings about getting money back to the town. This is not the only reason I'm talking about this. It's not all about money, but a fully paid detective and getting 1/3 of their salary back to increase as a force multiplier through the task force for the town of Niskayuna sounds like a really good option to try. And that's why I'm presenting it.
Yeah, I think it is. And I think this part-time assignment is much better.
Yes.
Okay? It's not a full-time officer leaving the town and going somewhere and really working with outside the town's limits. Now they're going to be there. They're going to be, and a lot of, as you know, things spill over from one municipality to another, right? You know,
Always.
crime doesn't know any boundaries, if you will, right? It goes from one place to another. So, you know, and I'm hopeful, I think that will work. And we do have mutual aid agreements with other municipalities anyway, right?
No.
So, well, you say no, but if something bad happens,
Sure.
you go to other places, right?
Not formally, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
We do have that.
So,
Chief, could you speak to, say we fast forward a year from now and you felt like this was a very successful trial program for a year, would there be data that would show how many times we utilized the task force as a force multiplier that our detective was not on the job?
Meaning if they weren't physically there, but the task force came in to support us as a secondary resource mechanism.
Yes.
I can absolutely track that. We can track that starting today if we wanted to. We could come up with a system to track those things. Like I said, specific to the ERPO, we have called them, I believe, definitely once because I was physically there on the first one, maybe twice, again in 2 months, as that force multiplier because, again, specific, and I don't mean to harp on the ERPO concept, but listen to the title, right? Extreme Risk Protection Order. And now we're going to potentially effectuate a search of a residence for firearms. To think that we have the resources to do that on a day shift in the town of Niskayuna, it would tie up the entire department potentially. And that's not what we want to do. We want to be able to utilize this. And I think embedding somebody into this is going to give us better access to that as a force multiplier.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And now Finance and General Government Committee.
Okay. The first was the resolution regarding 2890 River Road property, releasing the allocated funds. The second is a resolution authorizing the various budgetary modifications. The third is a resolution appointing members to the DEI Advisory Committee. Next is a resolution to purchase a replacement plotter large format scanner for the engineering department and planning department. A resolution appropriating fund balance to repay funds previously forfeited and to approve the use of fund balance to cover bond costs not budgeted for. This is actually going to cover all those I had listed out separately in the previous meeting, just putting them together. A resolution amending the procurement policy to increase the amount requiring finance approval for repairs to match the same as for purchasing at 6501. And a resolution calling for a public hearing regarding the properties incorrectly assigned to certain sewer districts. Any questions?
I have a I'm sorry, Ms. Greenwood, a quick question on the last matter that Chief Cochin spoke of. Would that have any effect on benefits from the long-term cost from the town of Niskuna?
No, it would not, because they'd still be employed by the town of Niskuna. They'd just be assigned
Okay,
on a part-time basis.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's all we have for our agenda meeting tonight. At this time, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.
I hadn't looked at this one yet. It's a surprise to me.
Your trucks probably are not gonna go. Your trucks are probably not gonna go. Well, they have to post for 10 days, I think. No, I know, I still don't think we're gonna make it. It's tentative. Tell Elaine it's tentative.
They won't be there December 8th.
Oh, William, but you know, I can't have it on a Friday and have it back on a Saturday. But I still wanna get that mini bid done. So we're locked into a price. We had that happen with the police department. We got a mini bid, we awarded it, and they turned around and raised it $8,500
per vehicle after we accepted
after we accepted the mini bid.
Really?
That's why I wanna get it done.
That's why we're super paranoid right now.
That's what we're waiting to find.
I know, everything's just insane right now. Well, yeah, well, they released
Hello, Miss Lori, how are you? Did you miss me today? Did you miss me today? Yeah, where were you? I was working from home.
crazy numbers in the budget.
It's so much easier. I told her she's gotta start doing it. Yeah. I got her. Oh, traffic stops. And then they got her. Oh my God, she's like, you know, I had to take a second shower before the doctor's. Poor little. And I think we gave her a bill. But yeah, she was like beside herself. And then. The other day, Friday. I haven't done this in a while. That's the best that she was. She really needs to take a day a week. Try to do it. You know what I mean? Absolutely. During the pandemic. Well, you know, we're gonna start that to what? We could do it for Georgia. Gathering information.
Apologize. The only thing
A little before 8, I got up, computer, my lunch hour was showering and getting ready to. My slippers under my desk here. I have no slippers. Some days it feels like you literally live here. So much energy. So much energy. Very good friend.
Basically sad. It's like really quiet. We're gonna call it money. Well, it's true. He's got revenue. He's got revenue. He's got red one.
Good evening. I'm going to call the September 13th, 2022 special meeting of the Town Board to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Present.
Councilmember Delarada.
Here.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Here.
Councilmember Brennan.
Here.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to open the floor. I'd like to open privilege of the floor. If there's anyone here who'd like to come to the podium and speak.
Hi, I'm Betsy Neiman. I live on Whitmire Drive, and I forthcoming about the organic trucks that are going to be coming down the road. I appreciate this privilege of the floor, and portions of what I'm going to read has been read before at a virtual meeting by Supervisor Sayed back in 2020. The original plan was to contract with companies that wanted to dispose of liquid waste to help pay for the additional upgrade and to generate revenue for the new sewer district. The plan was conceived and passed under then Town Supervisor Joe Landry. This deceitful and woefully poor plan bonded millions of dollars and was unknown and poorly publicized to the taxpayers of Niskayuna. The plan has been fraught with arrogance since its inception and disregard for the residents of Whitmire Drive, where the wastewater treatment plant is located. Originally, the board was to vote on a contract for each company wanting to dispose of liquid waste. However, due to years of bad press, along with the DEC, the EPA, the New York State Parks, state and local holdups, companies have taken their business elsewhere, and millions of dollars bonded for the additional upgrade has not been funded. I have some thoughts on this because unfortunately the decision to continue with this plan was long ago a done deal with no regard for the folks on Whitmire or the taxpayers. Now my thoughts are, does the town supervisor have to sign off on each delivery as was proposed back in 2020? Also, after reading the proposal today online, I am assuming we can expect 7 trucks a.m. and 2:30 p.m. That's 14 passes on our street per day because the entrance and the exit are one and the same. And there's a blind curve. Who has the right of way when a truck is on the street? It's a very narrow road. If a truck is on the street, that's the only thing that can be on the street. The school bus picks up children after 7, brings them back before 2:30. What do you do? There is no way that can happen. There can't be those 2 vehicles. Some of these trucks that are proposed to come down are like the ones you see at night in gas stations filling up the underground tanks. They're huge. So that lack of visibility with this, the blind curve, it's a real detriment. And the EPA has even said to us when we started this whole thing, that it's the worst street in Niskayuna that they could have chosen because of if there's a state park on one side and residential homes on the other and nowhere to pull off. So I just wanted you to know my feelings have not changed, and there's someone home in every house all day long on that street, and we have to watch trucks go 7 times down and 7 times back every day. Danger, huge danger. Thank you.
Are there any other residents present who would like to speak for privilege of the floor? Okay, if not, I have several letters to read into the record. The first letter is from Kevin Walsh, 2843 Whitmire Drive. He writes, Madam Supervisor and Town Board members, regarding Resolution 2022-239, for privilege of the floor at the 9/13/22 special town board meeting. Please read this email and enter the attachment entitled Potential Mitigation Options into the record. The attachment does not need to be read. I'm a 27-year resident of Whitmire Drive and chair of the planning board. I'm communicating as a resident only. The organics contact, that's a spelling error, it should be contract, to be voted on tonight, quote, anticipates the volume of organics to be accepted at the WWTP. The anticipated volumes translate to 39,930 gallons per day. The contract does not state hauler vehicle size. Assuming a 5,000-gallon vehicle is utilized, this translates to 7 deliveries per day, in parentheses, 14 trips by home since this is a dead-end street, end quote. I have provided the attached, quote, potential mitigation options many times over the years at regular town board meetings, budget meetings, and as recently as April 2022 at the engineering committee meeting. All I ask is that you consider the impacts on our neighborhood and work on potential mitigation strategies. I believe an opportunity was missed by not working on these and potentially including some items in the contract. As you may know, we do not benefit from revenue generated via organic contracts since we are on septic and are not connected to the WWTP Sewer District 6. I appreciate your transparency for including the contract details in the TB packet, and as always, I'd be willing to meet and/or work on any pursuits. Thank you for your consideration. And this is the document. The next letter is from Jeff Myers. There's no address. Oh, yes, 2833 Whitmire Drive. Okay, I'll be reading the following into the record. My name is Jeffrey Myers, and my wife, Amy Howansky, live at 2833 Whitmire Drive. I see that on the agenda tonight is a contract for the delivery of organic waste to the waste treatment facility on my street. My wife and my neighbors and I have been expressing our discontent over this plan for years. When the WWF was originally built, there was little or no mention of the scale of the operation nor the need for trucking in waste down our one-way street that borders protected state parkland. The proposal on the agenda tonight will result in at least 7 trucks per day down and then back up our street, for a total of 14 truck passes per day down our narrow street. We have expressed concerns in the past and continue to raise them now. 1, traffic safety down our street that is narrow and has a sharp curve. 2, failure to mitigate impacts to wildlife that lives in the park. 3, a complete lack of any mitigation for Whitmire residents, including the stagnant proposal to install sewer connections to our homes. 4, the need to improve the street to accommodate normal traffic, let alone increased heavy truck traffic. 5, a complete failure to address truck noise, including the use of, quote, jack brakes up and down our street and more. I would like to formally go on record, again, opposing this truck traffic down our small street. I also oppose this contract for the reasons above. It is most unfortunate that the town I have called my home for over 50 years is choosing to ruin the peaceful quality of our area and especially our street. Sincerely, Jeffrey Myers. And I have one last letter to read, and this is from Roy Thornton, 1337 Regent Street, September 1, 2022. Niskayuna Town officers and friends of Blatnick Park. Thanks again to the town of Niskayuna for adopting mowing practices on the large landfill cap and the site of the low mow initiative that have benefited pollinators and grassland birds. The informative signs are very welcome and welcoming. On August 27th, I conducted my final survey of the 18 bluebird boxes at Blatnick Park. Several times during the summer, Bob Unick, a licensed bird bander and Niskayuna resident, and I checked the boxes, and he banded bluebird and tree swallow chicks, as well as a few adults, which stayed on the nest. In total, from May 25th to date, bluebirds, up to 20 new bluebirds added to the world. 4 of the chicks were banded. Tree swallows, up to 28 new tree swallows were brought into the world. 25 chicks and 4 adults were banded. Bird species seen by casual observations at Blatnick Park during the period were eastern bluebird, Cooper's hawk, yellow warbler, titmouse, song sparrow, Savanaw sparrow, unidentified sparrows, tree swallow, Cooper's or sharp-shinned hawk, catbird, killdeer, blue jay, red-bellied woodpecker, red-tailed hawk, mourning dove, pileated woodpecker, flicker, robin, red-winged blackbird, bobolink, meadowlark, grackle, kingbird, wood thrush, goldfinch, starling, turkey, cedar waxwing, crow, eagle, ring-billed gull, Canada geese, mallard, house, English sparrow, and some others. Insects seen by casual observation over the summer included monarch butterflies, bronzed copper butterflies, crickets, 2 types of grasshoppers, bumblebees, honeybees, wasps, tiger swallowtail butterflies, black swallowtail butterflies, sulfur butterflies, and white sulfur butterflies. I'm sure a trained entomologist would have seen more. Photos taken during the summer are attached. Sincerely yours, Roy Thornton. Okay. If there are no other comments for privilege of the floor, we will move on to our resolutions. Beginning with resolution number 2022-238, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni and Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing a contract for improvements to a fencing at the Niskuna Dog Park.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
No.
Oh, call. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, call the roll. Going on from agenda. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin. Member Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes,
5 ayes.
thank you. Resolution number 2022-239, sponsored by Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving a contract for organic waste at the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-240, sponsored by Councilmember Moskowitz. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution approving a license agreement with the Hudson Mohawk Road Runners Club.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-241, sponsored by Councilmember McPartland. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution authorizing maintenance for an auger grinder at the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-242, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution appointing individuals to the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. Resolution number 2022-243, sponsored by Supervisor Puccioni and Councilmember McPartlin. Will the clerk please read?
A resolution calling for a public hearing regarding the placement of certain properties into the current consolidated sewer district, the correct consolidated water sewer districts.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moskowitz.
Yes.
Councilmember Delarada.
Aye.
Councilmember McPartlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Brennan.
Yes.
Supervisor Puccioni.
Yes.
5 ayes.
The resolution passes. That is all we have for tonight's agenda. At this time, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. We stand adjourned.